Today, the Madleen Freedom Flotilla that was attempting to deliver aid and food to the Palestinian people in Gaza who are starving was intercepted by the occupation forces. To discuss the Madleen Flotilla and its significance, I'm joined today with Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. Francesca, thank you very much for joining me today. Francesca, let's start first by asking you, is there any legal justification for Israel to intercept this Freedom Flotilla?
No, there is no legal justification for Israel to intercept and seize the flotilla and its members. And let me say why. First of all, this is a ship that was sailing with a UK flag. So the only state which is authority to intervene on the boat as long as it's in international waters, as it was the case when the Israeli forces intercepted the Madleen, was the UK. And so this is the first shade of illegality. Second is that the only reason that could have justified Israel's assault was self-defense, and for it, Israel had to be attacked or seriously threatened by the Madleen. And I can tell you, a small boat with 12 individuals who carry basic aid, food, baby formula, and basic medicines to a starving population who has been under siege for months and months on while being bombed, poses no threats. You know, I was on the phone with these people as they were attacked, and I asked, because there were two quadcopters at a certain point flying over them. So I said, guys, can you put on some helmets? And they replied, oh, we have no helmets, we just have life vests. So There is no legal arguments that can hold, and this is entirely unlawful. On top of the fact that there is a starvation policy implemented against the people of Gaza that the international community has responsibility to challenge by breaking the siege. So what these people were doing was in fact carrying humanity, the humanity that most of our leaders in fact are lacking.
Well, Francesca, as the Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, when I first wanted to interview you, I wanted to talk about the legal stuff. But as a human being, I would like to ask, as a human being, when you heard that the Israeli army is intercepting this Freedom Flotilla that was delivering food and aid to the starving people in Gaza, the starving children in Gaza, how did that make you feel?
Because it happened really with me on the line, I can tell you, it was very bad. But what I kept on thinking is the people of Gaza. I've not seen a sign of hope in the eyes of the people in Gaza I speak with. I see videos of, it's just death and bombing and wounds after wounds. And I wonder how much people can hold. And there was this somewhat in a number of people, including some of the remaining journalists in Gaza, there was this anxiety, expecting the flotilla, again, as I said, as a sign of humanity, breaking the siege. And so this is what made me feel really, really sad. But of course, I was concerned with the life of these people, because we know that in the past, Israel has used force unlawfully against activists on the flotilla. In 2010, 10 activists on the Navy Marmara were killed. And a few weeks ago, another flotilla was attacked by a drone in international waters. And no one said anything at international level. It took days to start wondering. So yeah, this was my reaction. But again, the main concern is not with the flotilla per se, is with Gaza. With Gaza, with Palestine, and with Palestinians who are trapped and strangled in this seemingly unstoppable grip.
Yeah, it feels unstoppable. And now we know for sure that the 12 personnel who were in this ship were detained by Israel and the ship was confiscated. What does what does Israel have obligation in terms of these people that are detained?
To release them, to treat them with dignity, but to let them go and not to deport them, to let them continue to Gaza. And then again, the main obligation is toward the people of Gaza. The thing is, look, the flotilla eventually ultimately is not threatening Israel's security. It's threatening Israel's impunity, because it's Israel responsible to deliver humanitarian aid, unfettered humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, as long as it remains an occupying power, which is also something that is to be unpacked, because the occupation is unlawful. The International Court of Justice has already declared nearly 1 year ago that the occupation must go. Dismantle the settlement, withdraw the troops, stop controlling and exploiting Palestinian resources, stop the forced displacement of Palestinians, allow the refugees to come in, offer reparations. This is what Israel is obliged to do. Instead, it continues to maintain its grip, to make plans over Gaza together with the United States. They've even replaced the United Nations with this nonsense, this unlawful nonsense that they call the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Again, there is one thing that it's endless. It's the level of abomination that Israel continues to show and to perform on the life of the Palestinians in the entire Palestinian territory, occupied territory, and in Gaza in particular.
It is layers above layers of dehumanization and breach of the international law. As an occupying power, Israel has, as you said, Israel has the duty to protect the people that it occupies, and they have the duty to provide aid and food and life-saving materials to the people that it occupies. But unfortunately, the opposite is what is happening. And now we know that this ship flies a UK flag, which means that this ship falls under the jurisdiction of the UK government. So allow me to ask you this. What obligation does the UK government have in terms of the people who were detained on board this ship?
One would expect the UK to speak out, to protect through publicity and through bilateral communication. I'm personally not aware of this. But I expect the UK, and this is what I've called for publicly, to use all its diplomatic weight to make sure that the Madleen vessel is released as soon as possible, then its crew members are not deported, are allowed to safely return to the boat and sail to Gaza as expected. And also, but the UK is in a very critical position, and it's not, the UK government, and it's not that the people in the UK do not know that. There have been mounting protests. The UK is, if I'm not mistaken, the country that has seen the largest and most deadly protests against this government for its complicity with the crimes that Israel is enforcing upon is committing against the Palestinians. Because while every now and then UK political leaders utter a word of criticism when there are apocalyptic excesses, with one hand, the UK continues to trade in weapons, and in the other hand, with everything else that is commercial. So this might amount to profiteering at a certain point. It is to stop. Commercial interests, whatever is at stake, must stop. They cannot overtake life.
Yes, and now that we know that the ship has been intercepted, what should the global community seeking to break this illegal and this immoral siege do next?
Mm-hmm. This is something that I thought of last night. Last night, the first thing, because it was very hard to follow. I was on the line with them, and I was scared that something could happen when the boats started encircling them, or when the quad cops arrived. And then when I heard the voice of the Israeli soldiers, the captain was saying, "No worries, everything is fine, no one is wounded," and then the communication get cut. So I was really worried. But then the thought that came to me is that the Madleen has shown the way to thousands and thousands of others to start. So ideally, I would like to see the Italian Navy, the Spanish Navy, the Egyptian Navy, the Algerian, the Tunisian, everyone from the Mediterranean, the French, everyone, to send their navies with humanitarian aid, nothing else than humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza, with their doctors, with their nurses, with us, human beings reaching other human beings. But because this is not going to happen soon, I truly hope that other boats, other civil society actors will join the flotilla. And I was very, very happy to see that when I was formulating this wish, it had already started, because just today I learned that from the country where I live, in Tunisia, there is another flotilla starting, and there are marches from various places in Europe, in the Maghreb, and hopefully soon from the Balkans toward the occupied Palestinian territory. There is no way that that Israel can live with the harm that it has done to the Palestinians, but there is only one way to get out of this quagmire, which is through peaceful means of resolutions. Stopping bombing Gaza, letting aid in, withdrawing the occupation, and accepting that apartheid cannot belong to the future, both for Palestinians and Israelis.
Francesca, I totally agree with you. This Madleen ship showed us the way. And it is time for action. Enough with watching, enough with just standing by while thousands of Palestinians are being slaughtered and killed every single day. Enough with watching children smothered to bones. Now it's time for action, and this Madleen ship showed us the way. It showed us that there is a lot that we, the people of the world, can do to stop this genocide and the starvation of the Palestinian people. Francesca, again, thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.